Hello, everybody. Good day to you. This is my third Old Goldwings Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I also completely rebuilt 80 through 83 carbs. I have an ad up on eBay with details for that. All right. I just put 11,000 miles on my bike this last weekend. It has just over 57,000 miles on it now, and I've had it for over 10 years. Not many miles for that amount of time. And that brings me to a story I read yesterday on a guy who is 80 years old and currently has two Goldwing bikes, and one is a 2002, which would be the GL 1800, which he still has, and he has 552,000 miles on it. And he has a 2014 F6B, which stands for Flat 6 Bagger Goldwing, which is his current bike, and has almost 700,000 miles on it. Sure, it's way more now, as the article I was reading was over a year ago. So, yeah, I'm sure it's well over that. So he keeps both bikes in case one is in for repair. Both are running the original engine. And Phil says that he wants to complete 700,000 miles on the Goldwing, or on this Goldwing, because his bike is still under warranty. And then he would buy a new Goldwing that now comes with a 6-speed gearbox. The 2014 Goldwing came with a 5-speed gearbox. And he said that he likes changing gears himself, and he would stay away from the automatic transmission because some issues have been reported with it. I'm not too sure on that because I don't like automatics, and I don't know. I like to manually shift gears. So he's going to opt for that new 6-speed unit. In his first year only with the 2014, Phil traveled 100,000 miles. In the following second, the third, fourth, and fifth years, he traveled 100,000 miles each. So at the end of 5 years, he completed 500,000 miles, and the sixth year, he traveled 85,000 miles. My understanding is, through that video I watched, is that his wife is kind of winding down a little bit, and he's not getting that many miles on his bike, although he said he would still like to. And the clutch is not covered by Honda's warranty, so he bought the motorcycle to the shop. From what I can tell, it's not a Honda official dealer shop, so it looks like he's got his own personal shop he takes his bikes to. But his fuel pump is also leaking, and that also needs to be changed. This is a second water pump. He changes the antifreeze every year and also gets his valves checked every year. He also changes his spark plugs and air filter after every 100,000 miles. Yeah, and on a side note, he said he put some additive in the oil of his 2014 bike and indicated that the oil was supposed to be motorcycle engine friendly. But he started getting a slipping clutch, and that is the reason for the bike being in for repair. Man, this dude really loves riding his bike, that's for sure. I'll put a link up on this video on YouTube. You can check that out and get better details on it. So now that kind of leads me to how the Goldwing evolved over the years since its incarnation. Okay, first things first, where Honda Goldwings made. And from 1975 to 79, Goldwing bikes were produced in Japan, Kumamoto factory. Hope I said that right. And that was in 1980. They produced... Oh, and in 1980, the production was moved to Marysville, Ohio, USA. That's where my bike was made, my 83 Goldwing Interstate. And Honda Goldwings were manufactured in Marysville until 2010, and later they moved back to Japan. All Goldwings are now manufactured in Japan, Kumamoto factory. God, I'm good with words. Okay, once again, 75 through 79 Honda Goldwing GL 1000s made in Japan, Kumamoto factory. And from 1980 to 2010, Honda Goldwing GL 1100, GL 1200, GL 1500, and GL 1800, that's 2001 to 2010, were made in the USA at the Marysville, Ohio plant. And from 2011 to the present, Honda Goldwing GL 1800, from 2011 through now, is made in Japan, Kumamoto. And here's the age-old question. Which Honda Goldwing build is better, USA or Japan? You make the call, but Honda moved their factory from Maryland to Japan, and it's the same thing, the way they build them. The Goldwing does not matter where it is made because Honda has high standards and excellent engineering skills wherever they make them, which I believe they do. I watched videos of manufacturing plants where they manufacture those bikes and other bikes too, and fascinating, the tight fitting and the way they put them together, and the design's incredible. Okay, let's see here. The history of these bikes basically broken down, and it all started with the 74 Honda Goldwing, the single overhead cam shaft driven engine, the first of its kind out of Japan. Shaft drive, that is. Had lots of torque and was buttery smooth. And while the performance was good for a bike that weighed 650 pounds, it wasn't crazy quick or exciting. It wasn't really referred to as a touring bike, and either. The manufacturers and literature only lightly used the word touring. It also lacked a windscreen, panniers, and or fairing. And it was, for all accounts, a naked bike. And that said, Honda's decision to miss a trick like that meant that enterprising folk across the globe began producing aftermarket touring accessories. And as a result, touring riders everywhere started to enjoy the GL 1000 on the open road. Over the next 4 years, the bike remained largely untouched, bar a few marginal performance and graphic updates. And by 1980, things were about to change with a Honda touring bike. Here we go. The 1980 Goldwing GL 1100. In 1980, the Goldwing received its first major update, and as a result of these updates, the new wing took on the resemblance to the one we know and love today. Yes, indeed. As you can tell by the name, the bike received a displacement increase to 1085 cc's, and thus a name change to GL 1100 came about. Not only this, but Honda acknowledged the bike's capacity for touring, and I can't get the words out here. They introduced the GL 1100 Interstate, a full-dress touring machine complete with panniers, a box top, a full fairing, and even an optional sound system. Yeah, that's the way you can tell on the Goldwings if these items were added or not. If you'll see a Honda emblem on the gas tank. And if you see that and you see all these attachments on it, that means it was aftermarket. It was put on afterwards as opposed to being put on at the factory. So there's a little tidbit for you. Okay, 1984, the Honda Goldwing 1200 came about. It was the year of Honda's next big update in the GL series. Honda increased the displacement again from 1085cc to 1182cc. Subsequently, another name change was in place, and the GL 1100 became the GL 1200. Along with the increased displacement, Honda also added hydraulic valve adjustment, a 16-inch front wheel, and a suspension upgrade to produce class-leading steering. And about 12 months later, in 1985, the Goldwing received further updates to commemorate its decade-long tenure at the forefront of motorcycle touring. These included fuel injection, cruise control, and auto-leveling rear suspension. By this time, everything about the bike had increased from the original Honda Goldwing specs, including engine displacement, power, weight, length, and equipment. But the Goldwing was continuing to a plateau. Actually, it was coming to a plateau, with weight becoming an issue and the chassis taking as much as it could handle, a major update was necessary to progress the model. And with that, enter the 1988 Honda Goldwing GL 1500. And back in Japan, and I'm going to tear this name up, Shichiro Era Missouri. Boy. Sorry, I apologize for tearing up that word, but that's the best I can do. He was busy releasing a tuneful heavyweight of his own via the new GL 1500. Shichiro had wanted to put a prototype six-cylinder engine in the original GL over a decade ago, but it wasn't to be. Fast forward 13 years, and the GL is now powered by a 1520cc six-cylinder engine, the way it was supposed to be all those years ago. As the wing grew in popularity, it also grew in stature, and with weight becoming a contentious issue, Honda added a reverse gear, a concept that would allow smaller riders to reverse the wing out of a parking spot. I wish my 83 had that. That'd be nice. But that all works off the starter, engine starter. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd like that or not. From now until 2001, the GL 1500 stayed largely the same. Minor updates included gold-trimmed models for the 20th anniversary model of 1995 and some minor updates to the drivetrain and suspension. And we get to the 2001 Honda Goldwing, the GL 1800. It's out of Honda's factory in Marysville, Ohio. A new Goldwing with a massive 1832cc six-cylinder engine was rolling off the assembly line. And whilst retaining the flavor of the GL line, this new Honda Goldwing 1800 had seen a complete redesign, upwards of where the rubber meets the asphalt. In fact, the design and technology that went into the bike was such that Honda applied for no less than 20 patents. I didn't care for that bike at all. I remember, like I said, I've always been interested in the 80 to 83 Goldwings. And anything past that, they just started covering it up with fiberglass and hiding that beautiful engine there. I hated that. And, I liked all the amenities, nice riding, the suspension, all the fancy updates and everything. But I don't know. I just like to see that engine out open so I can keep an eye on it. Let's see. Thanks to the extensive use of aluminum and dedication to weight reduction, Honda's gram shaving mission meant the new GL saw an increase in engine size and power whilst weighing marginally less than the GL 1500. This 1800 Big Six became the legend that is today's Goldwing, because despite its sheer mass, the engine is brimmed with torque and brings effortless power and acceleration. Let's see here. Yeah. But it gets better. The newly adapted frame and the infinitely improved suspension meant the wing was nimble and agile and the twisties whilst being fast and planted on the straights. I love the twisties and the straights. Yeah. In terms of full dress tours, this new GL was revolutionary. It was unprecedented, and Honda continued to better it by adding minor upgrades over the years. These upgrades included an in-dash navigation system in 2006, an airbag, heated grips, heated seat, satellite radio, and in 2012, another design upgrade saw increased weather protection and an increase in luggage capacity. So now going to the 2012 Honda Goldwing, the F6B, the flat six bagger. In 2012, Honda tried something new in an attempt to capture a new audience in the touring market. The F6B was a stripped-back machine and menacing looking. On the plus side, it was a whole lot lighter. But on the negative side, the reason it was lighter is that Honda had stripped away the top box and creature comforts such as the satellite navigation, cruise control, and airbag. That said, the 1800cc engine had remained the same. And with a 61-pound weight reduction, This made the F6B a performance-inspired wing. So now we go to the 2018 Honda Goldwing GL 1800 to the present. In 2018, we saw Honda move the bar once again with incremental changes over the last few years. The 6th generation wing saw an increase in power, reduction in weight, and better fuel economy. Opulence was added to both the driver and pillion seat to make for a more spacious ride. But Honda wasn't finished yet. The 6th gen model saw a 7-speed DCT box added to the lineup, paving a new way in luxury two-wheel touring. DCT. I don't know. I like my little manual transmission. I like shifting those gears. In 22, you had the Honda Goldwing. So, in the 10 years since the E6B, Honda has continually added to or removed from the GL spec sheet to make a better, lighter, more fuel efficient, and sleeker bike. In the 70s, it was clear the GL was becoming a touring motorcycle, so Honda adapted it by including quality luggage, a full fairing, and the option of running a stereo system. In the mid-80s, significant improvements were made into the steering and handling whilst adding cruise control and improved suspension. And as the 2000s rolled along, the Goldwing was given an 1800cc engine and modifications to assist with the weight, such as a reverse gear. Now in the 2020s, the introduction of a 7-speed DCT box takes luxury riding to a whole new level. This includes 3 DCT models, 1 manual model in the repertoire of Honda touring motorcycles. And to this, an engine lifespan of 250,000 to 400,000 miles, and you've got a truly legendary full-dress touring machine that will probably last longer than you will. Okay, with that, let's bring this back down to earth, and we'll go for the not-so-good info. And I just had to add this to the mix. Your thoughts, of course, will vary. It's all subjective, just like the different oils or the brand of oil you should use in your bike. You want to really want to cause some fun, ask the question on any forum about what's a good oil to use, and sit back and eat some popcorn and watch all the answers come around. It's incredible. But anyway, what year Goldwing to avoid? Avoid the 78 and 79 GL 1000 Honda Goldwing. In 78, many changes were made to the machine. It took a few years for everything to work properly, so they were really experimenting on those early wings. Avoid the 84 and 85 GL 1200 Honda Goldwing. The 84 and 85 Honda Goldwings had problems with the rear wheel and other problems like an ignition problem. The stator assemblies, I don't know, for some reason too, every time somebody mentions that year bike, first thing out of their mouth is better check that stator. And I don't know if there's what rhyme or reason is for that. Maybe it's just too weak for all the add-ons that were put on the bike. I don't know. But Honda even did a recall in 84 because some people's VINs didn't fit in their brackets. Some owners had to fix this on their own. Avoid the 2001 to 2004 GL 1800 Honda Goldwing. The potential for frame cracking, which was caused by an incomplete welding process. And luckily, they have provided a lifetime recall program. So if your bike has been recalled or inspected, all should be well. Just make sure it hasn't fallen through the cracks. Har, har, har. Okay, for those who don't want frame issues, a 2005 or newer GL 1800 will be the best. And if you do a lot of stop-and-go driving, then you should get one that is from 2006 or newer. That way there is more air for the radiator and fan to cool down the engine. Okay, now, as for the best to go after, I didn't go into detail on each, as this podcast can only go for so long. And this is like the best ones. And anyway, best Honda Goldwing model years. GL 1100, the 80 through 83, all were good. Yes, I will attest to that. The GL 1200, 84 to 87. Avoid the 84 and 85. 86 and 87 were the best of the GL 1200. As for the GL 1500, 88 through 2000, 1997 or newer were good. Then you get to the GL 1800, from 2001 to present, 2006 or newer were good. And last but not least, this question comes up a lot. It's the quote, 10-year rule. Now, when you buy a used motorcycle, you should know that some shops and dealers don't work on motorcycles that are more than 10 years old. And some refer to this as the 10-year rule. It might also be a regional issue. It's either due to legal issues around servicing and be liabilities of being held responsible for any damages done during service. No parts available if they do tear up something trying to fix something. So I can understand that. I'm sure you'd have to, put it in writing that, they're just not responsible for collateral damage, I guess you might call it. But, I got lucky with mine. And my 83, my local Honda shop took mine on with no problems. Fixed a lot of things on it before I actually started taking over and doing all that stuff on my own. But just make sure to ask before you take your bike in for servicing at a Honda shop. There's a lot of aftermarket shops that'll take them right on because they know where to get all those little oddball parts. I know I learned in a hurry how to chase down OEM parts. A lot of them off of eBay and quite a few off of actual Honda outfits. So you just got to look really hard on the internet and just take your time and build up the parts you think you're going to need and then start diving into it. Okay, all this info I just talked about was gleaned off the internet pretty much. Some paraphrasing was had to, so I could get to the point on some of these articles. I'll leave some links in the description areas I think is needed. Well, that wraps up for another podcast for today anyway. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to be a part of this podcast, just drop me a line in the comment area of this podcast, and or just head over to the Old Goldwings forum on Facebook and ask. And again, don't forget to check out the Old Goldwings page on Facebook. Lots of good info in there, and a lot of people knowledgeable on problems you might have. They'll help you right out, and they won't take digs at you for asking dumb questions. So that, and you don't get that much, very rarely do you get spam or anything dumb like that. I tell you, I was on quite a few Facebook forums, and I narrowed them right down to this particular page because, good bunch of people, and I like hanging out over there. So anyway, this is Frank Betts. Catch you down the road. See ya.